Good morning, folks. This is Greg Judy at Green Pastures Farm today, interviewing David and talking a little bit about his next journey. His internship is coming to a completion here in November, and David and I did a video. It's probably been a couple months ago now, and he had a huge outpouring of people asking and questioning maybe if he was interested in coming to their place. And David, tell us about where you selected and what are you doing next?
So, like Greg said, I had almost 40 job offers, and from all over, even out of the country. And so I emailed and called different people, and a lot of great opportunities. And the opportunity I picked is in North Missouri. It's actually good friends of Greg and Jan's, some people I know through a farm community we have in North Missouri called the Green Farm Project. And the farm is the Powell Cattle Company, and it's run by Alan and Tanya Powell. And they raise a lot of Red Angus. It's also got some Hereford mix cattle, and
there's some South Pole in there
too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's a grazing management position. Alan is he's in his late 60s, and he's been raising cattle since he was 13. And I don't know how much he would want me to brag on it, but they've got in the thousands of acres, and just in cows alone, they've got I think over 500 head,
yeah.
and that doesn't include all the yearlings, heifers, and so they've got plenty of room really for potentially several people, but at least one manager. And they're in a really rural section of the country where finding farm help is very difficult. And there's a lot of good things about it. But I'm going to brag a little on Alan. He was one of the few people that not only was very courteous, very open with me about his business, but he took the time afterwards, after we talked, to say thank you. He sent me just a brief thank you. Said thank you for considering me as a potential employer. And I guess when I picked Alan, one of the main reasons was because I knew he really was going to appreciate the dedication I was going to bring, because he's done it his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And there's plenty of opportunity to grow and learn. So, yeah, I mean...
Well, I've known Alan and Tana for a long time, and anybody that knows that couple, all they have is glowing reviews. They're just that kind of people, David.
Yeah.
And I can't say how much Jan and I are excited about you going on your next, say, journey in life, to a couple that really, they get it, and they treat people the way they should be treated. They got a beautiful farm, beautiful cattle, and Alan, I've worked cattle with him some, but I just watch him, and he's one of these guys that works cattle the way they should be worked.
He's very patient,
yep.
And he's very appreciative of animals and of individuals. And
Yep.
I think that goes a long way.
Well, the area they're in, it's the Green Hills of Missouri. And the grazing group you were talking about, it's called the Green Farm Project. And it was started back in the 90s, early 90s, maybe even before that. It was a group of farmers up there got together, and Alan was one of the instrumental, him and Dennis McDonald and Jim Garish, and that's when Jim was still teaching up there, at Linnaeus. And so I tell you, I think it's going to be a great opportunity for you to learn and build up your confidence even more. And Jan and I just can't say enough good about you, David.
Thank you, Greg.
Just the other day, we were out. You were gone to your mother, when she passed away here, and we were driving up through Minas over on one of our farms. Like, what happened to that fence line? I'm like, and Isaac both said, well, David got a hold of that, and I'm like, yeah, he certainly got a hold of it, all right. He cleaned it out, and it looked so awesome. And I go around the farm, and I'll see a tree that was falling down, and there it is, all neatly cut and stacked up. And you don't tell me when you do that. You just go do it. And I don't think I don't recognize that.
Well, thank you, Greg.
That's something that I really appreciate you have the fortitude and the work ethic, and I think Alan and Tanya are getting somebody that's going to be a really nice addition to their farm.
Yes, and I'm thrilled to be working with Alan and Tanya too. It's and I've said this before, Greg. You and Jan have just been a huge blessing to me. I think if I was to name one word to sum up my year here at Green Pastures Farms, it would be inspiration. And I think it's important to give people experience and opportunity, and I've certainly gotten that here. But in inspiration, and by that I mean motivation and vision, and inspiration in that you can do this as a grazer, and if you've got challenges or struggles that you need to work through, with patience and dedication and some humility to learn from nature and learn from the designs that nature has, you can build something that's truly worth a lifetime.
Well, the thing that I got from you when we interviewed you, David, that's been over a year ago, and the one thing that came shining out in your interview was your passion and your excitement being here and what we were doing. I didn't have to energize you at all. You were like the ever-ready bunny, and I told Jen, I said, this guy, he's going to do this. And if we bring him on and he can get a year under his belt here, there's a pretty good chance he's going to be successful doing this for the rest of his life if this is what you want to do.
And it definitely is.
It definitely is. And so, folks, there's nobody going to outwork David. I'm serious about that. I mean, he is a working devil. He says he just likes work, and I like that about a young man. I hate to see Simbo kind of mope around. And, how old are you, David?
I'll be 27 in about
14
days.
You're in the prime of your life.
Well, you only live once, Greg, and I'm going to mention this about my mom. One of her attitudes, she lost her mom at a young age, but she did not let that get her down, and she lived every day to the fullest. And she was an overachiever, and she left nothing on the field as a person. And I think that's the way to live your life. You only live once. You're going to have to work anyway, unless you want to mooch off the government. And I don't want to do that. So you need to go ahead and put your effort into every day. Think it through. You do have to think about things. But once you decide on what you need to do, be decisive and commit to it.
Yep. So your parting advice to somebody that is coming behind you, Dave, the next generation, somebody's just getting out of high school and they're thinking, well, I kind of like what's going on up there. I kind of like to get maybe a little bit more knowledge. What would be your parting words of advice to some young person?
I would tell them that they need to trust nature's design or trust God's design that he's put into this universe around us. So there is, you can't can grass farming. You can't make a recipe and say this is what you're going to do. That's one of the reasons conventional farming is, I think a lot of people do it, is it's already canned. But grass farming, it requires a little more strategy. But if you have faith in the principles that have worked for thousands of years, that animals move, that animals graze, the sun shines, water falls, and that over time you can build soil, and with good management you can really create a paradise. And the same thing is true as you're building a grazing operation or building yourself as a grazer. You need to trust principles for building yourself as an individual and building your grazing enterprise. You're a part of nature as an individual, and the more you can understand that, it could be something as simple as realizing that what goes around comes around.
Yep.
And so if you're honest and you're ethical, that's going to come back in your favor.
Tenfold.
It's going to come back in your favor. It's just, or like working diligently, that's going to pay off. You reap what you sow. I don't want to say too much, Greg. I want to keep it simple.
Let's wrap her up right there, David. I'll part with this. Jan and I are extremely happy to have been part of David's life for a year. And here's the cool part. He's only going an hour or so north of us. So David's going to be our neighbor. And we're going to get to see him on a monthly basis when we go to the Green Hills Farm Project meetings. And those of y'all in Missouri, you ought to check that out. It's a group of farmers. We meet every month at someone's farm. We have a carry-in dinner, and then we walk the farm, and we get to strategize and talk with other farmers and build this wonderful community. And I think that's important.
It is very important.
David, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you,
You
Greg.
bet. And I look forward to having you as our neighbor.
Yes,
everyone,
me too, Greg.
On the way out, hit that subscribe button if you would. I'd really appreciate it. And we'll see y'all down the road.